Hi everyone, hello, how are you doing? I hope you are doing good. So welcome to another video of chapter 9, which is control and coordination. Now up till now we have been discussing about the structure of neuron, the types of neuron, the types of neuroglial cells which support the neuron in its function. Then we studied about the properties of the nerve fibers and how the impulse is generated, conducted and transmitted. If you have not checked out the previous video, please check it out. Now we move to the next part of the chapter, which is talking about the brain, the different parts of the brain and its function. In this video, we will be talking the introductory part of the human brain, the whole classification of the human brain, different types of different parts of the human brain, and the cerebrospinal fluid, which I have mentioned in the previous video that we will be discussing in detail in this video. Let's begin. So here you see a flowchart of the division of the nervous system. Okay, so as we have discussed time and again, the nervous system is broadly classified into the central nervous system and the peripheral nervous system. Central nervous system में आता है brain and spinal cord because it lies to the it's the central part of the body and major activities are controlled by the brain and the spinal cord. As we all know, brain receives, processes information, initiate responses, it stores information, memorizes information, generates thoughts, emotion, and spinal cord conducts the signal to and from the brain. It controls the reflex activities, the actions which require immediate response without the information going through the brain and getting processes for. So immediate actions, immediate reflex action is mostly the part of the spinal cord. Okay, it gives signals to the brain. Yes, so this is the central nervous system. Moving to the peripheral nervous system, that is a nerve arising from the central nervous system, mostly the spinal cord. There are two types of nerves, motor and sensory. We have discussed this also in the previous video. Motor nerves are the ones which will carry the information from the brain and the spinal cord to the muscles and glands. And sensory will do the opposite. They will carry the information from the sensory organs, eyes, ears, nose, skin, to the brain and spinal cord. Okay, now motor neurons can be of two types, somatic and autonomic, which is then classified into two types of nervous system, the somatic nervous system and the autonomic nervous system. Somatic is the one which is under your control, and autonomic which is not under your control. So control voluntary movements is somatic, is the work of the motor neuron. Motor neuron can be controlling voluntary actions, and it can also control involuntary actions. Okay, and then under involuntary action, there are two types, sympathetic division and parasympathetic division. All this we will be seeing step by step, one by one. This is just a brief overview of what we are going to do in coming videos. Okay, so sympathetic is mostly related to fight or flight actions, responses, and parasympathetic is mostly rest or digest kind of responses. Okay, so let's begin with the central nervous system first. So central nervous system, the first part that we will be discussing is about the brain. Brain is having three major regions. It is categorized into three major parts or region: front brain, middle brain, and behind brain. So front region, forebrain; middle portion, midbrain; the behind portion, hindbrain. Front portion or the forebrain is further having smaller portions, the cerebrum, the thalamus, and the hypothalamus. Midbrain is the smallest part, it's just the midbrain, that's all. And then the hindbrain is further, the hindbrain is further having three regions, the cerebellum, sorry, this is cerebellum, not cerebrum. Cerebellum, pons varolii, and medulla oblongata. Okay, so again, we will further take this one by one. So brain, three parts, so forebrain, midbrain, hindbrain. Under forebrain, you have cerebrum, thalamus, hypothalamus that we will be covering in the first videos. Then the midbrain and then the hindbrain. Hindbrain has cerebellum, pons varolii, and medulla oblongata. Some of the words you might be aware of, some of the names you might be aware of, and some you might not. So let's begin with the brain first. So this is how the brain looks like. You have the cerebrum over here. This is the cerebrum front region. Then this is the thalamus. This is the hypothalamus. Here is the pituitary gland. This portion is your midbrain, and this whole portion is your hindbrain. And from here, the spinal cord comes. So forebrain is basically this much. Okay. Forebrain is this much. This region, basically. This part is your forebrain. Okay, this whole part. Under which cerebrum, thalamus, and hypothalamus we will be discussing. So let's begin with the first part. Okay, before going to the cerebrum, the parts of the brain, we need to understand the meninges and cerebrospinal fluid. That is the layers of with the brain is enclosed in, the protective layers and the fluid which surrounds the brain for its proper functioning. So if you take this section, if you cut this section as you see over here, if you take this much section and when you magnify it, it looks something like this. So from the outer to inner, we move from outer to inner like this. So the outer portion is your bony structure, which is your skull. So this is your skull. This is your skull. Okay. This white part. Then you have the dura, you have these layers over here. Okay, these are the layers, or you call it as meninges. Just like you have an outer membrane, middle membrane, and inner membrane. Here, in case of brain, you will call it as meninges, not membrane, meninges. Okay, so the outermost membrane or the outermost layer or the meninge is dura mater. Middle is arachnoid mater, and there is some space between after arachnoid matter for blood vessels, and the last is your pia mater. This is your pia mater. Okay, as you see over in spinal cord also, if you take the spinal cord and you do a cross section and you see it in detail, the outermost is dura mater, arachnoid matter. Then this is the space, empty space where the blood vessels and where the fluid will be there, this space, subarachnoid space. And then this is your, finally the pia mater, and this is your spinal cord. This is your spinal cord. Okay. So dura mater, arachnoid matter, there is a space, subarachnoid space, and then pia mater. Okay, outer there, this will be the skull, the bony structure. And inside, in case of brain, here the brain tissue will start. And in case of spinal cord, here the spinal tissue will start. Okay, so let's begin. There are three layers of meninges: outer dura mater, middle arachnoid matter, inner pia mater. And in between arachnoid and pia, there is a space which is known as subarachnoid space, which is having fluid, which is a cerebrospinal fluid. In the spinal cord also, all the cavities, all the spaces are filled with this fluid. Okay. Also, there are certain cavities in the brain which are known as ventricles. They are also filled with cerebrospinal fluid. What is this cerebrospinal fluid? We will be seeing in a short while. Before that, just have a look on the cavities of the brain. So they are known as the ventricles. The ventricle system is just a set of hollow cavities in the brain which is filled with this cerebrospinal fluid. So you have, when you look it from the side, the cavities look like this. The lateral ventricles, the third ventricle, the fourth ventricle, and in the spinal cord also you see the cavity which flows down, follows down. From behind, if you see, it looks like this. Looks like this, somewhat like this. Okay, this blue portion, they are filled with what? Cerebrospinal fluid. Okay. Then there is this middle portion over here. This is nothing but known as cerebral aqueduct, a channel in the brain which connects the third ventricle to the fourth ventricle. So you have this third ventricle and the fourth ventricle, and there is this channel known as cerebral aqueduct. Basically, these are all the cavities that have cerebrospinal fluid in it. Now, what is the cerebrospinal fluid doing in your brain and spinal cord? What is this fluid? It is a very, very, very important fluid for proper functioning of the brain and spinal cord. You see all the blue regions, it is filled with fluid. All these blue regions over here, here and here in the ventricles of the brain, in the spinal cord, you see, wherever you see these blue lining, there is the presence of this fluid. Okay. Basically, this fluid is doing what? Protecting the brain and spinal cord. It carries away the disposed material. Whatever waste material, disposed material has been generated by the brain and the spinal cord, it will carry away. Okay. It helps in maintaining balance of the body, homeostasis, balance in all activities, regulates distribution of metabolites surrounding the brain, keeping the environment ideal, perfect to prevent any damage to the nervous system. So protection basically. Okay, it will help in distributing whatever requirements of substances, minerals, nutrition. Even the brain requires energy, right? So all the metabolites distribution, just like blood. Okay, but blood will not be circulating in the brain. There is a barrier between blood and brain in your central nervous system. Okay, you will not find blood vessels everywhere in the brain and the spinal cord. So in place of the blood carries all the waste materials and gives oxygen and what do you say, all the nutrients to the different parts of the body. Majorly in brain, the cerebrospinal fluid will do that work. It's not that the brain is not connected with blood. There are blood vessels, but the function of cerebrospinal is more of like blood. Okay, that is regulating the metabolites, keeping the environment perfect to prevent any damage to the brain tissues or the spinal cord tissues. Okay, it is protecting all in all the brain and the spinal cord. It is cleaning the waste. So waste products are produced by the brain. They will move into the cerebrospinal fluid, which then clears out through the arachnoid granulation into the venous sinus. So wherever there are veins, it will bring over there and deposit all the waste products. So who is doing this work? Cerebrospinal fluid. So then into the venous sinus, and from there it can be absorbed into the bloodstream, main bloodstream. Certain hormones are released into the cerebrospinal fluid, from where then they are carried to different parts of the brain by the cerebrospinal fluid, and then they carry out their function wherever they, whatever function they have to do. Okay, so cerebrospinal fluid is very, very important for protection and proper functioning of the brain. Now we see some of the functions like cleaning of the waste, circulation of certain hormones, then regulating certain metabolites, maintaining balance, okay, preventing any damage to the nervous system. These are some of the major functions of the cerebrospinal fluid. That's all for this video. Now, in the second video, we'll be actually beginning with the cerebrum, the front brain, and the first part of the front brain, that is cerebrum. So thank you. Till then, take care. Keep revising. See you in the next video. Bye.